Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 as always here today, and we arrive at Imola, a track that I haven't actually done that much recently, but I really think it is one of the best tracks to drive on this game. And in esports, this is actually the very next race we have coming up, so it's going to be a fascinating contest around there. And in this video, we're starting from last on the medium tires. This is actually done on PC on my Twitch channel, which I was streaming, so make sure you follow me on there. So we're starting last on these medium tires, as someone has already gone around, but we're just going to see what we can do here. We've got quite a few good drivers in this lobby, which you will be seeing towards the latter part of this race.
Oh shit, I remember how bad the curves are around here.
And yeah, this track, I just absolutely love to drive it because I think the alternate strategy isn't super OP. It's very hard to overtake with the DRS zones and how hard it is to save the ERS. And as you saw, very easy to lose it on the curbs as well. And it's just quite a hard track to overtake at in general. And you just have to be so precise with your driving around here. Otherwise you will get punched. Like going into this corner here, if you hit this company inside a little bit too much, it will just absolutely eat you alive. And you can see someone has actually become a victim of that there and going deep into the chicane. It's not what you want. And yeah, this track is very, very demanding. So we made a good start here. We're going to be showing the full race as usual because it is a pretty good one when it gets towards the end of this race. As I said, there was a few very fast drivers in here. And I always feel on PC, said it many times before, that from across the whole field, it just seems to be a little bit more competitive than it is on the console. And probably the reason for that is because a lot of people spend a lot of money on the PC more than the console. And probably put a little bit more time into it. As you can see, both of these guys just spin their, I can even say that right round there. So we're up into P9 now. And you can see the people at the front are on the soft tyres, so they do have a bit of a gap. And the softs are a pretty decent tyre around here, like most tracks. So I think in esports it'll be quite common to see. I think it kind of feels fairly similar to Portimao, maybe a little bit more powerful than Portimao, but it feels like starting on softs is probably the right choice to do around here, given how hard it is to overtake and just how good they are to start the race as well. As we're about to have a little bit of in-game chat here.
Yeah, as I say, you have to brake so much on PC for me. It's just weird going through that chicane. These corners is fine, but going through there it feels very weird.
And yeah, when I switch between different platforms, which I play on all platforms now, it's a quite different experience. Even though I'm running the same settings, same force feedback, same brake saturation, all those things, I have to trail brake a little bit harder or lighter depending on what console I'm on. So it's never an exact value for each console, which is why people often find that someone else's settings doesn't actually work for them. But we're now up into P8 here, right behind this McLaren. We're going to go down the inside here. No, we don't. There's quite a good defense by just pretty much staying almost in the middle of the track, almost losing the car on the exit. And we have a series of medium runners up ahead of us, so got to try and get past these guys as efficiently as possible. You can see the guys on these softs are already going into that chicane, so they do have quite a decent lead at this stage here. No DRS zone here. I think there's only, how many DRS zones are there? I think there's only one DRS zone, I think, actually, around this track. Unlike Jeddah, where it feels like there's a million, but there's only 3. There's actually only one DRS zone here, if I am correct. So, making it even harder to overtake. And if this guy in front has the DRS from the car ahead, it's going to be really, really difficult, which I think he actually might have it. Yes, he does. So, we're having to expend a lot of the ERS to just get this move done here. And we can see we're going under 50% ERS now. But you can also see how powerful it is in a straight line going into that turn 1. But it's a very, very tricky corner to overtake. If someone's side by side, there really is just enough room for 2 cars only. As this guy goes on the gravel, so we'll just go to quite a nice move. But you can see 3 temps up, purple first sector with the aid of that DRS. Just showing again that it is very, very powerful. But then for the rest of the lap, I think if you are a faster driver, unlike Jeddah, then you could actually pull away from someone. Because these corners are very, very technical. And there's really not much of a straight for the rest of really the track. Like going through here, you've got the chicane. Coming off this, you can make up a lot of time if you absolutely nail it. And going to here is a bit of a downhill, but it's not too long of a straight. So I really do feel the drivers who are very precise and aggressive will be rewarded in esports. And I really can't wait to see this race in esports, if I'm being honest. I think it'll be, hopefully should be one of the most exciting races, as we do a 16.9 on these mediums with the help of the DRS we had on the previous lap. So go try and close in on these guys up ahead here, whilst trying to pull out DRS from the guys behind. Because as I said again, once you get past that first DRS zone, I think you're able to actually pull away from people if you have more speed than them in raw pace. Whereas like Jeddah, it's just so hard to pull away from people. It's only really the first sector that you can pull away from people here. So coming through into this, we've already pulled out the DRS off the cars up behind, and now we're trying to close in on this soft run here. Really, really difficult corner. This, if you touch a curb too little, it will spit you out. Too much, you'll just bounce over the curb. You just have to hit it just right. Doing this quite nicely, slow in, fast out. Just trying to cut a little bit more of the left than you do the right, going around there. And we're not going to be close enough to get the detection point, which is actually just right here before you go into the corner. So it's always worth noting where the detection points actually are. Carbonate Arrow sets the fastest lap, and he's the guy that I want you to focus on, because I had some very, very good races with him in this lobby, and there'll be more races coming out soon where I go against him, because he was a very, very fast driver, very clean driver when it comes to penalties as well, and he definitely makes my life a little bit difficult while we're doing races such as this. But I think he is leading the field here, or in second place, as my teammate is leading right now. So I'm going to try and get within the DRS zone of this soft runner, which with the aid of the DRS he managed to pull quite a bit away from me, but the softs are still very, very good for the first stint of this race. So coming through here, just take it nice and easy, trying not to get hooked on that curb. Going through here, this is where you can make up a lot of time here. So go and cut here, but
how was that?
I've realised on PC as well that the track limits seem to be a little bit stricter than what they are on Xbox. And I've had a lot of esport drivers say that in the past, and I definitely did notice when I was doing lobbies the other day on PC that it definitely just seems to be a little bit more strict for some reason, because on Xbox that wouldn't happen. And you'll see later in the video this week at Jeddah, I got stopped dead in the pit lane on the entry when I was cutting the pit entry. But on Xbox it doesn't stop you at all, so it's a very weird how it differs between the different platforms as well. But now we're up into P5 now, coming up behind TTV Squillian JD, this guy, and you can see whoever's in the lead, they have still a pretty decent advantage at this stage, because the softs are still working very, very nicely. So now we're coming into this corner, probably the hardest corner on the track now, making sure we don't get another penalty, because I think we've already got 2 warnings at the moment in this race. So being very cautious in here, not cutting the corner at all, just making sure I stay within.
I noticed track limits on PC seem to be a little bit stricter.
And yeah, just talk about the track limits again. But I'm just trying to get in the DRS zone of these guys now, 2 soft runners up ahead. So let's see if they decide to go into the pits. Do they go into the pits? One of them does, the other doesn't. So I'm going to try and keep a bit of the ERS back, because ERS
still got a bit of work to do this race.
ERS is very, very important around this track, and I think we'll be seeing that in esports as well, where no, high downforce will definitely reward you more in the qualifying bit in the race. If you have that extra straight line speed, and you saw how powerful that first DRS zone is, that is going to be the main overtaking place, and that could really be crucial, especially since the race is not 50%. You don't have to manage your tyres quite as much. Whereas in the 50%, a soft to medium would actually be very, very hard. Whereas in 35% in esports, it's going to make it much more manageable. But right here now, we've got to try and get past this Haas because Carbonet's Arrow is 3.6 seconds ahead. It's probably going to get a little bit of an undercut as well when it goes on these soft tyres or these medium tyres. You can see it now. I'm just trying to get as close as I possibly can up behind here because I don't really want to be overtaking really with any ERS use. So coming through this last corner, trying to get a really good exit. My teammate actually boxes now. I believe everyone else's boxes. The Haas's box. Okay. We've got the DRS here, and you can see Carbonet's 4.1, so he's actually decided to stay out. See how much time we actually gain in this first sector with the ERS, and you can see it's pretty much over 2 tenths on this straight alone, carrying that momentum going through into these corners. But he was a very, very fast driver, and annoyingly, he's going out late, so I'm not going to get the benefit of having that much fresher tyres than him. Because I always like to do that. I always like to try and have the freshest tyres in the field to just see how powerful the alternate strategy is. So
understood, stopping this lap.
We're looking to box this lap, but I think I might be continuing on for an extra lap as well, as I think we're running a 9.7 wings here at the moment. And you can see he's actually pulling away. He's extended the gap to 2 tenths again throughout this lap. So the softs are clearly still working for him. And he is just driving very well at this stage here. So, burning a bit of the ERS now. Let's see if he decides to pit this lap. And coming through into Sauce Corner, we'll be able to see on the minimap if he does decide to pit. And looks like he is. So, we're actually going to continue for another lap because the undercut isn't going to be that bad since he's going on the mediums. And I told Jeff that I'm actually going to be pitting next lap. And I know a lot of people always ask me, why do you go so long? Why do you not pit then? I just want to see how powerful the fresher softs will be and just to make it a little bit more exciting, if I'm being honest, sometimes. But really in here, this is going to be a tough race to come back from. Probably should have pitted that lap, but I was quite confident in my pace and the undercut isn't going to be that big. So you can see the gap is 21.6 seconds. Let's see what it is coming towards the end of this lap. Got to heat up a little bit as he comes out of the pit. So at the moment, the gap isn't coming down. So that's why I've decided to continue for that extra lap. And coming through into here now, the gap is still 21.7. Now it's 21.6. Coming through into chicane, making sure we don't get any track limit warnings. And we're going to be boxing at the end of this lap. Making sure we have a lot of ERS to use, because I want to try and recharge as much as possible. But you can see the undercut hasn't really been successful for him, but my teammate is the one who's actually leading, but he does have a 3-second time penalty. So coming into here now,
I forgot where the pit lane is.
Yeah, I forgot where to actually brake for the pit limiter. So coming in, we're not going to be held by anyone, and now we're going to put on these soft tyres, and now we should be absolutely flying in this race. So let's see, my teammate is going to come past me first. Then it is going to be the Alpine, who does have the fastest lap of this race. So my teammate passes me now. He now passes me. And coming out the pits here, I always seem to muck up the exit limiter, like the pit exit. I seem to press it and it just nothing happens. That's what happened there. But I still think we probably would have lost that position. So now we are behind Barrett, who's on the medium tyres. So coming through here, really got to try and get past him as quick as I can. See, the gap has gone up to 5.3 seconds, so he did actually gain a little bit. I think most of that was really to do with my pit entry and exit. So coming through here now, there's no DRS zones here, so it's very crucial that I try and minimize the time loss as much as possible. Now we have a 3-second time penalty, so he currently doesn't have one. So now that's just made the race much harder than it needs to be. This guy is defending as well. there's not really an option to overtake around the outside here. So we're going to play this quite patiently. I wanted to actually stay behind a bit, yes, but since we've got such a good run coming off this corner, we had no choice really to be the car ahead. So see, the gap to my teammate is 5.7 seconds, 5.1 to Carbonet, and now we've got pretty much 4 laps to try and close in and win this race by 3 seconds. So let's see what kind of pace we have now round Imola. So coming through into turn 1, clipping the first curb, you can touch more of the second. Imagine you to go through that nicely. You can see we made up a couple attempts already. Coming through into here, trying to kiss this curb on the inside, and we go purple just by 0.075 because we did have the DRS last time we did our fastest lap. See, the gap is down to 4.3 seconds up ahead. Let's see what it's going to be coming towards the end of this lap. You can see another 3 attempts here. So the softs are very powerful, but the mediums do catch up fairly quickly when it comes to the crossover. So coming through into the chicane, we can take a little bit more risk now, since I already have my 3-second time penalty. But you notice we're not actually using that much of the battery because I want to try and save it for when we get onto the back of these 2 guys ahead, especially if we're caught in a 3-man DRS train. Let's go through here. What's the fastest lap going to be? We do it at 15.6, so a pretty nice fastest lap, but we could definitely go quite a bit quicker. Just going to try and save this battery as much as possible. So going through this turn 1, losing a little bit of time here. So we gained about over a second on that lap. So we should be catching towards the end, but Carbonet doesn't have a penalty at this stage. So coming through into here, let's see, the gap is now 3 seconds to my teammate. I want to try and catch him on the next lap, if possible, to try and close him by 1.8 seconds, just to see if we can get within the DRS zone. And now the leader actually does have a 3-second penalty, so we are back on level terms once again. But as every lap passes, the softs will be getting weaker and weaker in terms of how OP they are. And again, it feels quite familiar to Portimao, where the softs are very, very good at the start of the race. But then in the alternate strategy, they are still decent. But I don't think they're as beneficial as they were if you started on them, if that makes sense. Which you'd think would probably be the opposite, but I think it's because of the softs you can go so long on them and they'll be so good, you spend a lot more laps on them. Whereas, you could argue you could undercut with the softs and do 10 laps on them, but then they'll be having even fresher mediums. So I think it's more beneficial to start on the softs and just extend the first stint for as long as you really are able to. You can see the gap is now 1.2 seconds. The gap is only 3.2 between myself and the leader, so we still have quite a bit of work to do, because as I said, his pace was very, very good during this race here. So it's crucial that we get within the DRS zone of my teammate, and trying to overtake him without any ERS was really the aim. So got to try and get a good exit off this chicane, try to be as close as we possibly can, making sure we're cutting the left. It gets a little bit unsettled on the exit. Not going to use any of the ERS here, but we're probably going to have to use some going down this main straight. So trying to close in as much as we can. His red light is actually flashing, so that's a good thing to see. Doesn't mean, or probably means we don't have to use that much of ERS. So we're using it here. Once we get the DRS, I believe we're going to turn it off right about now, as we do. And this is going to be quite a nice, clean move. But the gap is 2 seconds between myself and this guy. And we only have 1 lap left. So this is really only 1 overtaking spot. We've got to get within his DRS zone at the end of this lap. So coming through into here now, trying to take a little bit more risk here. Gap is now 1.6 seconds. Purple first sector, because we did have the benefit of the DRS. Using a bit of the overtake now, because we have to get within the DRS zone coming into this last lap. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty difficult task. So coming through into here, taking a bit more risk, going through into this corner, trying to get a very good exit coming off here. Still not within a second yet, so we have to get a very good exit coming off this corner. And do we get a good launch? Taking a bit of risk on the inside, and we have to use our overtake button just to make sure we're getting into the detection point. Do we do it? Yes, we do. Just about. But the problem is we're actually quite far behind. So to do a move into turn 1 is going to be very, very difficult here. So we do have the DRS, but I decide not to use it because I knew I wasn't going to be close enough going into this turn 1. Let's see if this red light is flashing. Yes, it is flashing. So I know I have at least 6 to 8% more ERS than him at this stage. And his red light, he's well under 10% if he's flashing there. So I have to do this without the DRS now. I have to try and get a good exit. So I'm trying to go down the inside here. He leaves me some room, but we're not going to get a good exit. He actually gets some very good traction on this exit. And now we're going to have to do it before this last corner. So coming through into here, try and be as close as we possibly can. But he still has quite good grip in these medium tyres. Being as close as we can. We're very, very close now on the exit using the overtake button. He goes defensive, but this isn't really an overtaking spot. So we try and get a good exit. He goes a little bit wide. Now we're going to use our ERS, our battery. His red light is flashing. We're going to go to the right-hand side. Going into the last corner. What's going to happen here? We leave him on the inside. He hits the inside of us. And unfortunately for him, he has come off worse there. And
I don't know if that was fair or not, but GG, man.
And now after the race, he said that he just drove into me. And yeah, that was a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be. I hope you enjoyed this race. Now, this full 25% race around Imola. I absolutely love driving around this track. I really can't wait for it in esports. Hope you're having a great day, a great weekend as well when it comes up, because I get my days confused at the moment. But thank you so much for the support on the channel. My coaching website is now live. If you are a member, Twitch subscriber, you would have had first access to that. So thank you to everyone who's been supporting that. I will be publicly announcing it at the end of this week. Thank you again for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.